Number one of the final match of day one of Blizzcon. But plenty more coming up tomorrow, but this is for the final spot to even play tomorrow. Norway and Hunter Ace piloting the Mali Druid, and then Best Today EU on the odd Paladin. Let's go. Wild growth seems good.
Yeah, that's exactly the way you're trying to get it going.
The rest of the anti-Paladin cards of double Moonfire Starfall.
Yeah, like
they kill 1/1s, right?
It's weird because like Moonfire, you don't want to draw it, but getting both of them kind of almost makes it better because then you could actually clear off a board. Whereas if you're just killing off 1/1, they're probably still going to Fungalmance you. They're still going to be able to hit you with level up. Whereas being able to hit both of them, you'd obviously rather hit swipe or spreading play.
Mondfeuer hat er sofort.
Could very much get the job done.
Dings.
Yeah, we see the power as well of mind control tech, which when we were speaking about Hunter earlier, has weird similarities with Flanking Strike actually in this matchup, because you end up getting rid of a small thing
dann ein paar Runden gut loslegen
at this point
eigentlich.
you actually gain the small thing most times, so it's not too
Würde ich
bad.
mal schätzen.
And that wild growth, maybe it's doable to coin wild growth and go into just playing a mind control tech, but I think with this opening hand of being just defensive with these removal spells if required, I don't think there's any importance in Norway to try and rush this out.
Yeah, I mean, if I know the Norwegian team, they were probably just arguing for about until the rope started burning on that turn. I mean, they're all very friendly together, but when you have so many strong players, you inevitably get some very strong differing opinions up against each other.
And also it's hard, isn't it? Because of the success and like level of these players, they almost like won't believe each other to a certain extent, or at least, for example, Saul and myself were talking to Hunter Ace and a couple of the others about some of the turns I mentioned in the earlier series, and like we told them, oh, you could have done this. Like, no, you couldn't. Like, we checked. Like,
Wird eigentlich zwar noch nicht dunkel,
you
aber
sure?
es ist
Like,
trotzdem so
we know you're
trüb und
better than
finster.
us. But we literally had this checked. You could have done it.
Nee, warte mal, ein Arsch ist ja finster.
And you imagine like that between four of them. Wow, that's difficult to manage.
They're all very stubborn because also they're all so good that they don't really trust the stats. They believe their own anecdotal evidence more because they're all so intelligent, so good at the game, that they'd rather go from what they can observe themselves, which means inevitably they're all going to get different opinions from what they've experienced on ladder. So again, from Norway, while they are all incredibly strong players, they're going to be butting heads a fair bit, I would imagine, as well.
Yeah, we'll say though, Bulgaria don't have the worst opening at all, just getting these minions out and then having a level up available. Also, Druid known up until around turn 7, 8, 9 of having just a decent hand size. Maybe this Divine Favor can get it done, or even held late for after a UI. Like if after a UI your opponent's are like 9, 10 cards and then you just fill up and draw your deck as odd Paladin, you can still get the work done sometimes.
As Best Ude EU is presented with a difficult decision here. I was going to say I would have to imagine that they will meet up with the Blessed Maul here, as they have a Divine Favor in hand, so they can start refilling. They are still just as vulnerable to a swipe with the
Immer diese
Blessed
kleine
Maul.
Paladin-Armee.
But in the end, they're deciding they just want to keep
Rekrutieren.
getting that hero power rolling.
Yeah, I guess they're just very committed to level up, but for me, I almost always like playing the Maul on 3 if you've got it in hand, because it's such an awkward amount of mana to get on a weapon, so just get it down early and have it available to start pressuring or pushing some extra damage. That's what I prefer to do, but yeah, looks like Best Today feels like, yeah, can just press that hero power and gain 2 1/1s, keep going.
Right, because when are you going to play it? Like, maybe you end up playing it turn 4 if they don't clear off your board, which is, okay, a reasonable assumption. Maybe they don't have the swipe. But you know, you're not going to be playing it turn 5 because it's level up. You're probably not going to be playing it turn 6 either. It's a long time before you're actually playing it, and then it gets interrupted by the Vine Cleaver as well.
Looks like this one plays
Nicht lange überlegen. Hast doch nicht viele Möglichkeiten.
Okay, there can't be a consideration for Starfall actually. You want that answer to stop them getting the level up the following turn.
Yeah, it's the classic answer now against all aggressive decks is you clear going into turn 5, because that's when Fungalmancer comes down and that's when level up, especially for Odd Paladin, comes down. So I love the slightly slower play here from Norway.
And also one of the cards that does pretty well versus Paladin, so I'm told.
Ja, die Karten sind ein bisschen beschissen, ne?
Into, so that's a pretty big deal. Suddenly you start staring at this Druid hand and you think, yeah, this is going to be tough for Paladin, because it's not just, oh, they have one hurdle they have to jump. They have about 500 at this point, and they're called Beetles.
And this has worked out pretty well for Gute here, going for the hero power first, while he has wasted a fair bit of mana by floating 1 mana on the previous turn, 1 mana on this turn as well. He's pushing a lot of damage here, and it forces Hunter-Ace to have an answer, which he demonstrated on the last turn. He probably doesn't have a swipe.
Now there's questions as to whether you go for Spreading Plague or Starfall this turn. Starfall allows you to keep hold of the coin, but Spreading Plague means that this is a pretty wide board anyway.
Yeah.
And if you Starfall, then is the board going to be too chunky for Spreading Plague to have as much of an impact?
So how does it usually play out? If you go coin Spreading Plague, and then they level up, they trade away most of your guys, their guys are all at 2 health, so you get a good Starfall after that. You can follow up very easily to clear off the board, push face with your 1/1s, and be in a pretty good spot to follow up with, I don't know, ramping more, try and get through to a UI, whatever. But if you want to go for a Starfall here, you need to think, what am I doing next turn that benefits, that is better than Spreading Plague?
Was machst du denn da jetzt,
And I think
Junge?
all things considered, because the rest of the cards in his hand develop so poorly unless there's a big board, I really like the coin Spreading Plague here. I mean, hey,
Ernsthaft, du findest jetzt die 2 Moonfire-Dinger?
Why not? It means that these minions
Ist das
are
nicht ein bisschen
less
jetzt
and less likely to be cleared off
eine
the
kleine
board. I
Verschwendung?
think these Moonfires are really
Hättest du
coming out
vielleicht
as well
noch
because of
ausbauen
that
können.
+1 attack on everything. It means that more of these can be cleaned up. Obviously a benefit as well to counteract some level of level up.
because now, even if Bulgaria did have the level up, which Norway don't know if they do or don't, would they go for it? It's really not that good. Yeah, they probably just keep hero powering a little bit longer.
Or maybe you just Void Ripper this turn, kill 4 of them with the weapon too. You retain the Righteous Protector, and you can still follow up with a hero power. Or you could even Righteous Protector again and then play Lost in the Jungle. But I think hero power and then next turn can be Lost in the Jungle level up is probably the overall plan.
I think you're pretty happy as this for Hunter-Ace. I mean,
Das kann
you're not
beschissen
happy to
sein
see the
jetzt.
Void Ripper, but it could be so much worse. It's still clearing off their board. They haven't got Fungalmancer level up. Like, considering how devastating Void Ripper can be, Hunter-Ace is still pretty happy here, I think.
Müsstest du opfern eventuell.
Knows that even if like one more big push, you just start falling down and be like, right, one more turn. You hold on for a certain amount of time, and then Druid normally hits the tipping point of just saying, okay, Paladin, you cannot get through my defenses now.
Bulgaria finally saying, we want to get value with this Divine Favor, going nice and wide on the board. Here they are. This does mean, though, that their next turn is looking to be a lot weaker, because if they'd just gone hero power last turn as the final 2 mana, and then Lost in the Jungle level up on turn 6.
That's what I thought they were going to do.
Yeah, it gives them a much stronger play, and I think with a 5 mana and a 7 mana card in hand, getting value out of Divine Favor might actually be a little optimistic.
Right. And especially because, you know, like, yes, you want the game to end earlier than this, but the Druid's always playing on UI in, which fills the hand in which you can Divine Favor.
Yeah, you get value from
right?
it then.
It's not like, oh, this is my one opportunity to draw some cards from Divine Favor.
As Hunter-Ace's hand is just not doing all too much at the moment after, I guess, a mind control tech comes down, and then, well, I suppose Forbidden Fluke then becomes the mind control tech to get another steal with it afterwards. They can start to stodge up this board, and as long as they're not being smorked down through the use of Level Up or Leroy, they should be in a decent spot.
And what's the steal? Well, it's weird, isn't it? It's like a medium answer because it's still a level up target that you've stolen, but I think having 2/3/3s or even just the Righteous Protector is way more valuable at this point in the game. Wow.
And now Bulgaria, I think, really going to be wishing they'd gone about this play differently. If they'd gone hero power last turn, this turn, they could quite happily go Lost in the Jungle level up, then hero power level up, whereas instead, they're drawing a card for 3 mana. This is miserable.
So it ends in them having a 1/2 and 2 1/1s on the board, whereas the biggest thing here as well is they could have even, if they wanted to, gone for like Righteous Protector instead if they wanted to defend the 3/3s, or at least get something else on the board that's a bit more sticky. Obviously the level up will have taunt anyway, but yeah, it's weird. I just presumed they were going to use the Lost in the Jungle this turn because you've just seen a Spreading Plague as well, right?
I think this is, in my opinion, the first very questionable play I've seen from Bulgaria here. I just think they were just not they were expecting too much from this divine
Das sieht
favor.
ziemlich
Because they
beschissen
had
aus.
5 mana and a 7 mana card in hand. They just weren't going to be able to clear off enough
Oh,
cards to be able to get value from it, and it became very quickly apparent.
Den wohl besiegen anscheinend.
Now, Ferocious Howl for Norway means that they can play it and still Starfall and clear off everything but a 3-1 Void. Void Ripper? Which definitely isn't bad, because they're gaining 5 armor and drawing a card, and you never know what the card they're going to draw either, so... They also could just instead hero power and fully clear off the board, along with the Starfall, of course. I think I like the Howl. Gain some armor, draw a card.
Yeah, I think I like getting the Howl as well. You just want to draw as many cards as possible, so you're likely to hit Spreading Plague or Swipe off the following turn. Get yourself closer to that ultimate infestation as well. Because, I mean, we've been talking about how this has worked out well for Norway, and we don't agree with Bulgaria's plays. They're still probably in the lead at the moment. They have 2 level ups, they have a Vine Cleaver as well, and Norway is pretty quickly running out of health.
But as always, Druid is only 1 UI away from a good time.
A good point.
And it could change everything. Also, funnily enough, a matchup, actually, I will just have to double check. But a matchup you could normally get away with just dropping a Malygos, right? If you don't die that turn, you just play Malygos and you're like, well, if you don't kill it, things get really funky real quick. So now there's Spreading Plague number 2.
And there's going to be all kind of maths being done very quickly here by Norway. Could they ever get away with Dream Petal Florist on this turn? They go up to, 14 down to 11. I think it's just a bit too risky. So then do they just have to Spreading Plague in what is a very, very underwhelming Plague?
I wonder if you even... Would you ever Spreading Plague, Spellstone the 3-1 and Hero Power 1-1?
Definitely worth considering.
Yeah. Because although, well, you could just Hero Power the 3-1, it's like, yeah, and take more damage.
Because then what would you rather Spellstone? A 3-3 Silver Hand Recruit, at which point you've killed one off anyway, just by going for the Spellstone there, so it does the job anyway, and you take less damage.
Yeah. And it's not like you need more damage from a Spellstone in a lot of instances, right? Because well, most minions in this deck and this Paladin deck you kill anyway.
Right.
They're going to go for it.
They're going Spellstone Dream Petal here, obviously trying to hit the Malygos and missing the 50-50 there. That is pretty miserable there for Hunter Ace.
Good old Prince Liam. So a Blessing of Might they would actually weaken CB Dead to.
Yeah.
With this play. Very brave from Norway. I think I would have Spreading Plague personally, because I would have wussed out. I mean, like, no, don't kill me this turn.
And I mean, I was talking about it last series. It's what can you afford to play around to? They're clearly thinking, okay, you know what? If they got the level up, we'd probably just lose anyway. And if they do go for the level up, Plague gets so much better next turn. We just have to pray they don't have Leroy on this turn, which they didn't. They survive through to the next turn. Then they go for Plague. They even managed to get Plague. Tyrant, okay, yeah, they did it the right way around.
Ach du Scheiße.
Playing with the Dream Petal and the Tyrant.
Junge, das kannst du knicken. Ganz gleich auf Game.
Oh, sorry, yeah.
Das wird nix. Das wird nicht mehr. Glaube nicht, dass das noch was wird.
And they are
double reduction as
close to
well.
dying.
Yeah, can't even hit one of these. Not that you particularly need to right now, but it's going to be a hard armor up pass.
It is indeed, and then I believe with the Void Ripper or the level up, whichever way Udir wants to go about it, he will be able to close out this game in what we were thinking was looking like a pretty favorable matchup for the Druid.
And this is how I'm going to cast the rest of this tournament. Any favorable matchups, I'm going to be like, no, they're going to lose. Every time, that's literally what's happened to me today.
Everything has been flipped up on its head. As
Leg dich
Paladin,
jetzt.
Team Norway has just been doing all the wrong stuff. It lost
Level up,
against
alles
Hunter
klar.
in the last series.
Right.
Up against Brazil. It's just been doing what
Schön,
it
wenn man
should
seine
do.
ganzen Rekruten überfahren kann und dann mehrmals Level up hat.
Better hands you could have against odd Paladins.
Das ist
Still
beschissen.
Bulgaria with their double level up hand. It's just way too much for the Druids to deal with, and they get off to a very, very important game 1 victory.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing here was like lack of nourish, lack of UI. Like when you don't draw both of those, it means that you can't.
Ja, komm. Ach, diese Werbung.
In the big threats.
Ja, ist doch.
You can go Bright-Eyed Scout
Was haben wir denn jetzt? Magier gegen Schamane.
Lich King, maybe an Astromancer. You can get a really scary start rolling.
Yeah, I mean, the reason Bright Scout is in the deck is not only because it's card draw, but because sometimes it just wins you the game the turn you play it. You know, you've just gone, yeah, okay, I've got it. Whereas look at this opening, Kelseth into the chain gang is, you know, it won't be buffed, but still it's a lot of early minion pressure.
As it looked to me there like I could have been looking away at the moment, but the Gluttonous Ooze was kept by Bulgaria in the starting hand, along with the Bright-Eyed Scout and the Stonehill Defender, which I find quite surprising, as there are, again, no weapons in Shudderwock Shaman at all. Clearly just indicating to me they want to curve out.
Freeze.
Yeah, it's kind of funny, right?
Yeah, it's like they want 3-3 is just good enough.
They want to play the game that the big mage wins. Like, you know, like the minion-based deck. It's like, they have all this removal. Well, guess what you remove in Hearthstone? Minions or your opponent's face. So it's definitely kind of funny that the way that Ooze was kept. Be interesting to hear any thoughts from them afterwards. But Kelseth, another shard as well.
Because now, while their plan may have originally been to go coin 3-drop into Bright-Eyed Scout, which I'm not even sure I necessarily agree with, there's a curve you want to go for. Now it's looking much more likely that we'll see coin Bright-Eyed Scout, and then start playing out your 5-drops and hope that you hit some impressive big minion off of the 5.
Yeah, it's so funny, is it, that like both decks can just become beat down, and you don't really know why or how, but it happens sometimes.
Yeah.
Plus, as well, there is still just the general threat of these Bright Scouts just pulling one of the big threats, and that just messes up the game plan so much for Team Norway.
Because I can understand the reasoning to play Raven Familiar over the hero power. You have a bunch of card draw, you're drawing a card which makes it less likely you get a spell off Bright-Eyed Scout, which again is very good in this matchup. You want to hit a big threat to throw down onto the board. And it's just something else the Shaman has to trade into.
Yeah. It means, you know, although ping was available, it just means there's something on the board and you didn't have to use coin to get there, right? It's just easy minion to drop, draw a card and then move on. And now with the knowledge that Dragon's Fury is drawn and in hand for Team Bulgaria, it means that they can plan around turn 5, because a lot of the time against any deck that's even remotely pressuring you, just Dragon's Fury in turn 5 is fantastic.
And we see they are going to be curving out with coin.
Here we go.
Dead Scout into the Scout. Let's see
Hold your breath.
if they can get one of these big old minions.
That looked okay.
No.
Oh, no. Right. It's the literal one minion in the deck that isn't okay.
That's the lowest cost deck minion in the deck.
I thought it was Astromancer, because it looked. I just saw the colour for a second and was like, oh, wait, what? Nope. Raven's wrong again.
Psych.
Yeah. That's just awkward. It's like a 5-mana 1-2. At best, it gains lifesteal at some point.
Yeah, it's like, oh man, that card doesn't look very good. The old 5-mana 1-2.
It depends on its battle cry or effect, right?
Oh, did you see the new Warlock legendary that was announced with the expansion, the 8-mana 1-1?
Yes, yeah.
That looks sick.
Yeah, it looks like a good card. The funny thing is, it could actually be quite good.
Could be alright.
Yeah, it could actually be pretty decent. Oh, okay. Oh my god, was that the other? Okay, at least they're laughing about it. That's the important part. But that is hilarious. If they weren't playing for a spot like the semi-finals in day 2 of Blizzcon, that would just crack. If that was just a ladder game, you would just crack yourself up and probably just concede. Because that is just funny at this point.
I have to be honest, I was taking a sip of water as they did that, which I now very much regret.
And now I've had a shower. It's like, oh my. What do you even do at this point? Just be like, I just don't even know what to do. It's just 2 5-mana 1-2s in the hand.
The odds of that are staggering. Like every other card in the deck got like 4 or more.
Yeah, at worst would have just been like, okay, it's 1 mana increase, fine, but I can play it next turn, whatever.
But again, while that was definitely the way that they were hoping to win in this matchup, at the moment for Bulgaria, while they haven't got the kind of the high roll scenario where they just completely blow out the board and dominate through an early Astromancer or something like that, Norway's kind of just running out of cards. They've been curving out very aggressively, but because they now have no card draw and only have removal, Bulgaria can just swing the board in their favor, maybe through the use of Dragon's Fury, Meteor, just developing minions, whatever.
Yeah,
as long as they get bored, they're in a pretty good spot.
Yeah, I mean, they can start developing these 1-2s, one turn at a time, and start really pressuring the board. I do want to see a turn 10 double artificial, and that's it. That's it. That's the whole turn. Just turn 10. All mana, 2 1-2s.
Somehow I doubt we'll see that. I think it's literally worth more to keep those in your hand to get a 1 extra mana cost card off Astromancer. That is the most valuable use of Artificer now. As Norway
doesn't change the fact I want to see it.
Fair enough. I should have not bothered explaining why it was a bad play and just said yes, Raven.
Yeah, now you're learning. Now you're learning. Okay, well, this just means that the Bright Scout is going to live, and as you said, oh, that was key. You were literally just saying that there's not enough card draw available due to the sort of minion-based aggression that Team Norway went for in the opening, but now Manitide, it looks like it's going to do pretty well here. The only frustration is it actually just dies next turn, guaranteed, and you can't, it's not as if Norway can even play Volcano Manitide this turn, which, honestly, if Norway run 8 mana, I think I would.
But, like, you say it dies guaranteed. I'm not even sure that's necessarily true, because your opponent is going to their 7 mana turn. Do they want to ping? If they have Astromancer and you deny them playing Astromancer, that is insane. That is such a ridiculously big benefit you're getting just because they have to kill off a mana type. To the point where I think they would just play it. They wouldn't bother killing it off.
I think it's really tough, right? Because you know your opponent's drawn barely any cards in a deck that requires you to draw most of it. So is delaying just an Astromancer 1 turn like worse than actually killing off any of the card draw, because they've already been in such a rough spot?
I think if the Astromancer was available, it would have probably just been by Freaky, because again, they need to be doing stuff in this matchup. They need to play the aggressor, which is very difficult when you're throwing down 5 mana 1-2s as your biggest threats.
Those are scary.
Scary bad.
Yeah, scary for Team Bulgaria. This is just, like you said, if those what are now 5 drops were any other card in the deck, this hand would look so much better.
Imagine if that was Jaina.
Yeah, it's literally any card in the deck. Yeah. Oh, Farsight, nice follow-up as well. Means that Team Norway can just keep chugging away. That's a better draw. That's not a 5 mana 1-2, it's a 1 mana 4-4. This game's unfair.
Yeah, like Norway are just 1 card away from this just going into overdrive for them. Like if they get Acolyte of Pain, they can go Acolyte Volcano and they're completely in it. They just basically have the combo probably then. If they can just draw Grumble into Shuttlebook as their next 2 cards, the game's over. Unless it activates in the wrong order. They're in a very, very good spot then.
Okay, so Alana is drawn, so that is some level of pressure that Bulgaria can apply, but they need to work on actually getting there. I believe they've used 1 expensive enough.
In the Meteor?
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
So that's only going to be 1/5/5, so that won't be enough, because if you're playing Alana, you need it to survive at least 1 Volcano, right?
That's
it just has to survive a Volcano.
Yeah, I think generally you might be okay with risking it, but with the way Norway have been playing,
Meine Fresse, schreck mich nicht.
Something like a Volcano, because they've just been doing nothing. It's just been top deck, top deck, top deck.
As good a turn as any to Blizzard. Go for Dragon's Fury.
Yeah, like the
guaranteed clear.
Yeah, your board's dying anyway if you go for the Blizzard, so I can respect this. Go for the Blizzard when you have a good amount of damage on the board, and you stall your opponent's board and then push the extra damage to face.
Ooh, nice. Also as well, that would be 1 extra draw, because the Acolyte's actually a 2/4, not a 1/3.
And clearly there, as you can see, the Norwegians having a little bit of difficulty deciding, having a think about it, because they are often playing very quickly here, much quicker than some of the other players. Because it's not an easy decision. Like, if you just go for the Acolyte of Pain, it very likely just draws 2 cards anyway, without the Volcano necessary.
The rest of your turn's bad though, right?
It is bad.
That's my like Acolyte Hero Power pass on 9 mana does not feel fantastic to me.
But it's not like you're just throwing away the Volcano because it's useless. Volcano will be good. Your opponent is eventually going to start developing onto the board, and having access to 2 Volcanoes would be really valuable.
I think I like the card draw.
I agree. Oh,
this just floats too much. This just like passes the turn effectively.
But it's close, and I like the
I do understand your point.
The slow play.
Now look at this, Sandbinder, Mana Tide, like this is when things really start cooking for Team Norway.
Yeah, I believe they could still get either Electra or a Glacial Shard in addition to the obvious Grumble they are looking for to really just get their combo going.
And now there's Lich King, Alana and Alexstrasza available as the big threats, or even that Sleepy Dragon to be fair. It's going to be Alana straight after seeing the Volcano. It's like, okay, suddenly this is now 13 power. It's nearly half your opponent's health in one swing if this gets to hit.
Yeah, and if you hit them with the Alexstrasza first, I really like getting power on the board first, then trying to go with the Alexstrasza to get them down to a really low health total and try and burst them out. But again, it is not going to be working here as the answer is available from Colbane, still drawing through that deck.
One thing that was very interesting to me as well was Team Norway were telling me about when they played against Brazil. They were like, oh yeah, we could pretty much just tell what our opponents had because they were just so obvious with their reactions.
Really?
Yeah, they were just like, oh, they've not drawn gold down this turn. Wow. Because it just, they said instantly because they were like, we could just tell because they didn't really, they looked not happy. So, you know, I do wonder that you'll see them probably staring over at their opponents now and again. It's something they did tell me they were doing.
And like the fact that they laughed after the second pull from the Bright-Eyed Scout, it's very unlikely that Norway will realize it was double Artificer, but they know something funny's just happened.
Well, what's important is now they know it wasn't Lich King, it wasn't Alana, and it definitely wasn't Jaina. So now you think, well, if it wasn't,
maybe it was.
If it wasn't the good cards, it must only be the bad cards. Because even drawing any of the AoE is like net positive, right? Because you've drawn a card, so at worst it's Dragon's Fury, so it stays at 5 mana, but you drew a card, so it's great. Anything else is a gain, so yeah, you must be getting to the point where it had to be only that card, and that is the most wonky Army of the Dead I've seen for a while. It's like an 8/8, a 4/6, a 1/1, you know, just on the side. It's like, okay.
But I like the thinking here from Freaky in just going big onto the board. They have to do something quickly because this game is very rapidly slipping out of their fingers. Colbane will be running away with this game. Because not only is the full Shudderwock combo something they have to be afraid of, they're just dying. The board is just very quickly running away from their control.
Also as well, it's just kind of like Alana 2.0, isn't it?
Yep.
That turn. So the way it worked out anyway for getting the 8/8.
Because now Norway really only need to be afraid of just dying in a big surprise attack from Alexstrasza.
Which means as long as the board is relatively clear, it's pretty safe. Because Team Bulgaria can't really Alex first, because we can see there's just Electro healing, right?
Yeah.
Just 2 healing rates.
Ordentlich runter gemacht.
Still Norway, you know, they want to set up for the ability to go Zola Grumble in the next couple of turns because that gives them the highest chance of
da wurde eins gecheapt.
Activates correctly.
Kein Schaffen.
Okay, but I can
Schön, wenn man sowas machen kann, ne? Irgendwelche übermächtigen Diener verzaubern auf so was Kleines.
Things get very scary.
Yeah, there's not enough like tools, especially when you Volcano your own Acolyte.
Yeah.
There's not enough tools in the deck that deal with minions. Or at least a singular big minions. There's like literally Hex and then a single target Volcano.
Freaky now has to know that if he does not kill off this Grumble and Shudderwock is in hand, the game's just over. Yeah, because the Grumble bounces back and the Shudderwock activates every single time.
Wait. So das denn?
Okay, so Farsight, not too bad. Farsight Electra is a combo I absolutely love.
Yeah.
It's so sick.
Which is exactly what they're going for. They know as soon as they find
Just
that
get
shuttle
there.
walk, the game's just over. Especially because they would then be able to go shuttle walk into Zola on the same turn because of 3 mana reduction. And there it is.
Oh, okay. That's like a good version of Bright Eyed Scout. It reduces the cost of the card, doesn't really, you know, it always reduces the cost of the card and doesn't give you 5 mana 1/2s.
You'd still be pretty sad to get an Arcane Artificer off of the far side.
You've drawn 2, right? And there's 0 mana, so you could gain 20 armor in a turn, Derek.
You're not wrong.
There you go, 20 armor's a lot. It's way more than like 19.
Way less than 21 though.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
Los Kinders.
Ernst.
Ja, was machen die Spieler da?
Naja.
Just get even more. 40 armor.
Eben.
Tja, keine Ahnung.
Ich keine Ahnung.
I told you I just upgraded the partner model. It's fine.
Same.
Was wird jetzt schnell?
Okay, so there's Extra at last, but I feel like if I'm Team Hungry right now, Team Bulgaria, sorry, I would be just afraid after so little card draw early on, and now there's just been all of the card draw in the world for Team Norway.
Yeah.
And we obviously have the vision with it. Shudderwalk, Zola's available, and still there's like 2 mind control decks.
Yeah.
Like still drawing. Oh no, all the elementals have been played now. I think. So there's just so much pressure just from one Shudderwalk, and then you already guarantee at least 1 more.
Just everything feels wrong here for Freaky. Like, he will even be one considering, do I just leave these minions up? Because it's more likely for the Shudderwalk to bounce back bad minions instead of bouncing back the Shudderwalk to their hand, which is what they've gone for here by freezing the minions instead of flame striking them. I guess this is actually a fairly heads-up play because it bounces back bad minions to the hand.
Yeah.
But having said that, Flame Strike cleared off this board. What Flame Strike won't clear off is a board full of Shudderwalks. Whereas Blizzard would have just stalled them out and you can get more chip damage through to phase.
Speak.
It was a turn where you really wanted to have like 16 mana. Just so you could develop the Astromancer as well.
No, I think because you could develop the Artificers as well. Would actually be 16 mana.
Shut up.
Oh, God.
As here we go, Norway are realizing they need to be playing around it as much as possible, not bouncing back the bad minions. And we see the Shudderwalk come down. If a Saronite Chain Gang activates first, they will have pretty much locked out the game in their favor.
The fuck?
No, that is not the correct order though.
Okay, they get 1 more swing at this.
Was ist das für eine Combo? Hä? Die Kombos versteht man irgendwie nicht. Es geht alles zu schnell.
Just played 3 7/7s for 6 mana, sorry.
Also as well, there's only second Dragon's Fury that stops this being a guaranteed bounce, right? Because Bulgaria can't clear every Shudderwalk, which means 1 Shudderwalk 100% bounces, and that is going to be the concede. And that's going to be Norway as well, evening up this series. And maybe just getting a bit better hold of the series as a roundabout way, because they did take a bit of an unfortunate loss in the first one that shouldn't have happened, I would say.
Ging jetzt aber schnell.
One thing to this matchup, it is the
none. Just about winning board, I find, is the odd worry.
Kriegerin, Paladin. Ha.
Kind of win back board from you with their very
Kann lustig werden.
removal spells, of which they have basically none. It's just the hero power they're relying on. Then you're in a great spot as the odd warrior. But if you are constantly having to use your removal spells to get back the board, that's when eventually you will just be outvalued by the paladin hero power.
Nice early Omega Assembly, brilliant nullifying, not quite the same minion in this matchup as it is in some others. Not really playing the value game. You're really looking for a Dynamatic or maybe even one of the, you know, the earlier game minions just to get it down, as you said, to start trying to contest that board.
I like the pick of it though, because
I think it's the best one out
Yeah,
there, but...
If you can stick it onto like a Zilliax though or something, that is just an insanely powerful swing in your favor. And for Zorkthar here, he has very much opened up the possibility for what is definitely not the main win condition of the deck, but a great way that you can punish the slightly greedier decks. I'm just throwing down Blessing of Might on a Divine Shielded minion and start hitting your opponent really hard very quickly.
Ich will vergessen.
I wouldn't be too upset if this turn was like Voltron, Blessing of Might. I mean, just a 1-3 and a 4-1 Divine Shield seems good to me. Oh, yeah, there you go.
Yeah, much the same thing.
Call it. I like it. Although you spent a lot of time with Zorkthar, haven't you? So maybe you just keep it in the mind.
Well, he's actually, like, Zorkthar's playing a bunch of Odd Paladin recently, and he actually sent me a screenshot, as he often does, completely unprecedented, just to brag, of his matchup against Odd Warrior as the Odd Paladin, and he's just crushing it. He's just beating people on ladder with the Odd Paladin because eventually he just outvalues them every time with Vine Speed and the hero power.
And again, you've got to look at the value now where, like, that was a 3-mana turn from Bulgaria that just gets eaten up by what Norway already have, and then they can spend 3 mana of their own to actually continue applying the pressure. I will say, though, the Dion Hatchling and Dynamatic with a Nullifier seems pretty good for the mid to late game for the Warrior.
Yeah, and for Silent Storm, even if things start to go wrong and he's met with a level up on this board, he's got the brawls. He's ready to deal with any kind of a bad situation. If he can just lock down the board and start value trading his opponent's minions, that's when Bulgaria will really start to run away with what is pretty big.
I wonder as well how heavily Norway play with this Divine Favor, because they could effectively empty their hand next turn, apart from Divine Favor, of course, and then just get a pretty hefty draw on turn 4. It looks like they are going to go for at least some kind of empty the hand out. Next turn they can play Ardent Squire and Divine Favor for a pretty decent draw, and this also just piles on a lot of wide pressure, and guess what? Your opponent can't brawl if they don't have the mana.
And while we were talking about how we didn't like Silent Storm's play, or sorry, Bulgaria's play earlier, of setting up for a Divine Favor too aggressively with the Odd Paladin, here for Norway, when their entire hand costs 4 mana, you really do have the liberty to set up for it very aggressively, force your opponent, you know, they're going to be keeping their hand, and even though you're not playing for the highest amount of value by pressing hero power every single turn, refilling your hand full of cards is probably just more valuable.
Yeah, and Team Norway, I imagine, are extremely happy with that response from the Silent Storm and Bulgaria, because that was just, oh wait, you just didn't play a card. Great, more cards for us instead. Also, as well, they didn't particularly overcommit last turn either. They didn't really put too much into this setup for Divine Favor. It's like, oh, I'll just play a couple of cards, that's fine. You're the aggro deck.
As I would imagine, Norway will actually be considering going for Divine Favor first to try and hit the other Blessing of Might, because that is like a better thing they can do, I think, with their mana, because it leaves the space free on the board. They can stick it on the Glowtron, which won't die to Dynamatic. But all things considered, because the first copy of Blessing of Might has already been played, just getting the maximum amount of card draw possible, which is all going to be very necessary, is a play I like a lot.
Yeah, and look at this. This is pretty nice here, and this is the power of level up in matchup like this is often not playing it, which means this brawl has to happen or Bulgaria take too much damage, but you've not played level up, so then you just do the same board again. Like I said, the board wasn't that threatening in isolation. It was a board of 1-attack minions. Oh no, but it's the potential threat they offer, which has forced that but these run out at some point.
They will indeed, and that is probably what Zorkthar is relying on after, obviously, his gambit with the Blessing of Might on the Argent Squire didn't work out, which I don't think he was expecting to get all the way there, just hoping to get maybe a little bit more damage.
Doesn't play another minion all game. He's like, oh, the Argent Squire's got this.
Yeah, even though it perfectly cancels out with the Warrior hero power. Yeah, now he's just relying on getting that value with the hero power, which he will be pressing every single turn. Apart from maybe when he plays Blind Cleaver, but as much as he can possibly fit in.
Every single turn, apart from the turns that he doesn't.
I'm not wrong.
I didn't say you were. It's going to be a pretty decent setup for the Fungomancer, as this board is pretty sticky and hard to deal with. Dynamancer's not... Dynomatic, not going to get it done. God damn. I'm just saying words now.
I've realised.
So the confidence in which Glowtron would survive that turn, not because of course it would because of Dynamatic, but I mean, well, you've seen a brawl and you don't think they're gonna Reckless Flurry a board because of the Divine Shields.
Yeah.
Then it means that this Fungomancer almost always gets a good land, right? You know, you're always hitting something pretty decent. I do like it this turn. Are you feeling something else, Darren?
I think they might be leaning towards Raid Leader just because Fungomancer doesn't really make nice trades. Like
That's why you go face.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I mean, that's a real consideration, right?
Was? What?
Maybe you're okay with just putting the 3/5 and the weapon in?
Yeah, you just
Die ja alle Wordings in den Dings haben.
I suppose,
Wolltest
but
du noch
like, you're
sammeln,
making
bist du
yourself
noch
vulnerable to Reckless
die
Flurry,
Zeit
but
hat
if
man
they
ja.
flurry this board, I think you're
Wir
probably
können mal schon
And
mal.
you just equip Vine Cleaver and you're like, okay, let's go.
Yeah.
Aber die haben Plan.
As again here, you know, they're playing into mind control tech now, but I think probably saying, I don't really mind if they mind control tech this board. This is far from the most threatening board I can make, and I want to prepare for when I eventually level up and they can't steal one of my taunts.
Right. Also, so Vine Cleaver actually beats anything that gets mind control tech anyway.
Good point.
So there's not any singular minion that's like, oh, if they get this though, we just lose.
Yeah.
It's like, no, you can actually just deal with most of it.
And it's still just that board state where Silent Storm wants to kill it off because he's taking a lot of damage, but if it is killed off, Zorkthar just starts swinging with the Vine Cleaver, and that is so much value, such consistent board development every single turn.
And just 12 damage.
Yeah,
It's just a lot.
straight up.
That's just a lot of damage. I wonder as well, would be too surprised if there's a setup next turn just to Dynomatic and Zola next turn. To just keep playing Dynomatics, which, yeah, it's a pretty good way to beat Paladin right now. Oh, this Glowtron's gonna get some work if that's the case.
Yeah, there was some consideration there, I suppose, for the Raid Leader, just to get that hero power in as well, but all things considered, really like just starting to swing in with the Vine Cleaver and get that value rolling. You've got 6 swings to get through over the next few turns, so you may as well start cracking on.
Yeah, and also swinging with a Vine Cleaver is kind of like pressing hero power as well anyway, right? You gain the 2 tokens. This board is relatively wide. Is it wide and scary enough for a brawl? Maybe, because the weapon is equipped and they're going to take 4 additional from the weapon.
But the fact that the weapon is equipped is another reason to not go for Brawl,
No.
because you know that they have strong redevelopment onto the board. This is just where things go wrong for Odd Warrior.
So here they're going to commit the Reckless Flurry, clear this off, get a Stonehill down. Now right after bombs available, now it's like double taunt along with the Dynomatic. There's definitely some great options for Bulgaria, but it's whether you add those together, what they're worth, and then you add what's available for Team Norway, and you're like, yeah, I think Norway's adds up to a little bit more.
Yeah.
Or it might take a while, but I think it does get there.
Yeah, and the way that Bulgaria pull this back is by pulling ahead on the board, which all the while that Vine Cleaver is equipped, they just won't do. I think it's too difficult to put enough stats on the board with the mana and cards you have available to the point where Vine Cleaver won't be killing off your board every single turn.
Corridor Creeper timing here is interesting because it's just 0 mana for the rest of the game. Like, do you need to play it now to apply pressure? Probably a setup for Fungal, but wow, going for Fungal now as well. Wow.
Well, they're realizing it plays around Dynomatic. If they have Reckless Flurry, which they've already just played one of my minions already survives. Brawl, I still very likely have something on the board, and he still, or something good on the board, I should say. And he has the Vine Cleaver as well. I think this is a good time to go all in from Zorkthar.
That's true. I mean, the Brawl feels bad, But I think if it's anything but brawl, you probably just win the game next turn. So I do understand.
Exactly. It's you're forcing your opponent to have the answer, which they very well may not have.
Yeah.
Ein Rekrut. Ah. Na, also.
So there's 4 from the
Da
weapon.
könntest du jetzt
They
raushauen.
can give a potential +2, but that's still not quite enough. Still think I like the swing anyway. Swing hero power pass.
I always like the swing. I'm just wondering how the rest of the mana is filled, because you generally want to play raid leader when you already have a big board for the surprise extra damage effect. And your opponent clearly doesn't have ooze, or they would have already played it. So I think going for the Vine Cleave here, just for the most mana efficient plays.
Exactly, they just bank the mana this turn, then next turn you can double raid leader on potentially 5 minions, and that's just a big
Just
deal.
got lethal then.
We can see though, not to be as Dynamatic will just clear this little board up. But like you said, Dynamatic clears it up, then you swing, kill the Dynamatic, and you've got 4 1/1s on the board again, and you're like, okay, round 2.
Well, Dynamatic plus Taunt, be it Direhorn or Rotten Applebaum, is a really nice way to actually prevent against the power of Vine Cleaver. And this is the turning point for Silent Storm when they start to pull things back. They're getting through the Vine Cleavers. Their opponent has played the Divine Favor already as well.
I mean, frankly, there's just not much left, is there? There's Leroy.
Exactly. There's the level ups, I think, that haven't been played.
And that's it. But after Vine Cleavers, although obviously
level up doesn't do
that is
much.
3 turns of Vine Cleaver. Wait, there we go.
There you go.
But after Vine Cleaver, if you can get through that without dealing with a hefty level up, then you're not really providing much power. We've seen Lost in the Jungle too, right? Or at least one of, I think.
And if Zorkthar does end up losing this game, it is looking very likely that Norway will be leaving the Hearthstone Global Games. With Odd Warrior up against Quest Rogue as their next game, they would be very hard-pressed indeed to take that victory.
Na Junge,
Tough call.
was da?
Very tough call. If they're not careful and they just leave this board here, their opponent's going to start developing even more. They could go Zola on the Dynamatic, play it again, start to clear everything up. I like going a little bit more all in here, because if they take apathetic plays consistently here, the game will just slip out of their fingers.
Right. Owl's not a bad pickup though.
Ja,
Just to
was
leave this
ist das denn,
Dynamatic
Alter?
alive to maybe get another trade.
2 solltest du wegmachen müssen.
So if he was to go Zola on the Dynamatic and then double trade in, I suppose you have the Zola in play then, so it gets a little bit more awkward. It's a tough turn. Because you could consider Iron Beak on the raid leader instead of one of the recruits.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking about.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, if you be the raid leader, then the 3/4 just kills the 3/3 instead. Maybe you just start Omega Assembly. You gain 3 mechs. Let's see what you get, because there is the Beryllium Nullifier there, so you could plan for something a little bit stronger. Okay, go for the owl on the raid leader.
Okay, this makes sense.
I like this.
Just the strongest play onto the board, which for Zorkthar is not that bad of an outcome. Your board's still in play, you have another raid leader ready to come down, and you still got the Vine Cleaver ready to keep attacking in. So the amount of damage that can come through on this turn is actually kind of high, with raid leader as well being able to bring your opponent down to 7 health on this turn. Or just as they're mousing over there, Baku, just get down the biggest minion you can.
I wonder if that's just okay. I mean, you're not seeing shield slams from your opponent, but they also don't have the armor to do that
if
anyway.
you take away their armor, it just doesn't do anything. I think I like the Baku on this turn.
Double brawl gone.
Ooh. Yeah, it looked like they were going very heavily for value trades there. They do, again, need to be thinking about armor totals to set up for the Baku, which, if they're not attacking face with the weapon, they need to be very careful that they're not giving their opponent a good shield slam.
Yeah. They could leave the owl on the board. I think going face
so I like the
feels
attack
good
phase.
now, yeah.
There we go.
Oh, shield slam as well.
And while the mana was used up last turn, it does look very much like Omega Assembly is going to be the play on this turn, as Ziliax and Dynamatic are both discovered. That is one of the most incredibly powerful Omega Assemblies I've seen in a good while.
That is pretty sick.
Well, you can just go Ziliax on this turn and take out the 3-3.
I wonder if you could actually just go trade the owl, Dynamatic, and then play the Tinker, I forgot what name it is, and still armor up, and then you have a deal 4 as well.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And then next turn, you can either Ziliax a mech, or Beryllium Nullifier a mech, because both of them are magnetic.
Well, he's just got the Shield Slam now with...
Big.
Yeah,
Oh,
looked
sure.
like he was going to go more to there.
Sure.
Yeah.
You're right.
You go for the Shield Slam there, and you're just pretty far ahead on board now. Norway still having to find the ability to pull things back, and Stonehill Defender could be that exact card if they hit Sunkeeper's Harem. But they do not.
No, although we're talking about how good Ziliax is, this just, it's good, but is it enough to actually, like, win the game? I'm not sure. Probably not at this point.
It's not bad, because you do need to be worried about your health total in this matchup. Like, eventually they'll just stick something on board and kill you. So a little bit of lifesteal could be useful. And also worth mentioning, I believe there is still the single copy of Level Up left available to Norway, which means Bulgaria still have to be removing those 1-1s wherever possible, and they have not definitively won the board yet. Through the power of these Vine Cleavers, still, turn after turn, Norway is keeping board control.
Yeah, and this is going to be the last swing of the Vine Cleaver of the game anyway, because that's both gone now. And this might just be the final push, to be completely honest, from Team Norway. This is almost everything they've got outside of drawing exactly Level Up next turn.
And they even end up holding back on the Vine Cleaver swing there, because I think they're coming to the exact same conclusion as you of we have to hit Level Up with this or the game's just over.
Alright, nothing feels good, does it? Ziliax can attach itself to the bot, but doesn't do much right now.
Yeah, it wouldn't even be able to attack then.
Oh, this is bad actually. Ziliax Zola armor up.
Yeah, just a nice way of getting that armor total, or that health total way back up.
Oh, and already now you think.
Yeah.
There's one charge of the Vine Cleaver, there's one Level Up, and one Dream in the form of Stonehill Defender.
Could it be?
If those aren't good enough, well, this health is only getting more and more and more.
And that is what Norway were looking for. Their prayers have been answered. As over the next few turns, I mean, even just right now, we could just see Sunkeeper Tarium after the swing with the weapon on this turn, which pushes a very, very high amount of damage and a really impressive board at the same time.
That's definitely not bad, actually, is it? Because you can just also just ignore Zola, potentially, and just not trade into Zola, just kill off the taunt and go.
Makes sense to hold it back for the highest amount of value possible, because they're obviously not dying in the next couple turns, so they have the time to just be so incredibly greedy with the Sunkeeper Tarium.
Whoops.
Yeah, that's a very nice pickup for Bulgaria.
If this is the turn they get the Nullifier down and try and set up for Ziliax on a Nullifier next turn.
That would be a lot of lifesteal.
Right. And
Level Up.
this isn't really a minion you want to trade into, is it, right? Although the Nullifier is always a threat, you'll be like, well, it's a 3-8 against my tokens.
Yeah.
We'll see now, though. That is a Level Up.
Yeah, I guess we're probably more likely
Ja,
to
aber
see
du hast
Tarium
schon
on
nicht
this
mehr viele
turn. You can push
Möglichkeiten.
23 damage through to face.
Na
At
schon.
which point, what, your opponent's down to 9 health? Like, they just have to have an answer then.
Right.
In the form of the one remaining Reckless Flurry, I think is the last piece of big board clear after both Brawls and one Flurry have been used. I think that's just good. And Silent Storm will be hoping to see anything other than the Tarium here off the Stonehill Defender. This is the real chance for Norway to pull this back.
Yeah, I think Bulgaria were very much relying on that Nullifier living.
Yes.
And Tarium was literally realistically the one card that stops that happening, because even if the Level Up came down, I can't imagine that Team Norway would triple trade into a nullifier and lose all their
Der
three
kriege jetzt
threes.
nicht was Gutes raus, so, dann ist er in der nächsten Runde platt.
Zorthar as well, of trading in both the 3-3 taunts because he knows there's a Ziliax in hand, and therefore he doesn't want to give the ability for the 3-2 to trade in. And now Bulgaria are in a position where they feel they just have to go for Dr. Boom and hope that there's some kind of master plan to pull them out of this sticky situation. And that ain't it.
Yeah, we realize why Missile Launcher is actually 6 mana, not 5, because Missile Launcher's Ziliax would be pretty sick. Just like max lifesteal, deal 1 damage at the end, charge, rush, divine, rush, divine shield, lifesteal.
I can almost hear Fireback going to build that deck in Druid already, where you can go Ziliax, innovate the Missile Launcher as well. As I believe with the level up as well, that is going to be enough damage for Zorthar to take a game that we thought, in all honesty, he was just out of the game with the amount of damage, the amount of armor that was being gained by the warrior, but they managed to pull back
gewinnt Norwegen.
Sunkeeper Tower.
Yeah, and it was just about got there, I think.
Yeah.
We've seen
Und da kommen wir auch wohl zum Endspiel. Eventuell.
Infinite mode at the end game, because normally you try and do it on the Gute Inventor. It's not that you can't go infinite, it's that a lot of sub-decks can keep clearing your minions based on what's happened in the previous game, so not quite as sticky on board, but still pretty powerful if you just have the time to complete that quest.
And you can usually still make it work through the likes of Wax Elemental or going into the later stages of the game, Vicious Scalehide, to heal back up with the lab recruiters. Even though you don't have the old giggling inventor to help you through, you're still very hard pressed to lose this matchup as the quest goes.
I will say though, Team Norway do have some nice early options as well. Just have Stonehill Defender, Mind Control Tech,
Coin Defender, or Coin Mind Control Tech just to get the damage rolling.
I mean, what's the answer, to be fair? If you want to do like deckhand trades, it's like, okay, is that a win? I think so.
And these are some decent taunts. Gemstone Golem is definitely worth considering if you just want the highest amount of attack power, which I guess you probably do, and they end up going for it. They realize they need these big threats to have any chance at all.
Yeah, and this will have a certain level of impact on the potential following turns as well, because you do need a certain level of armor to be able to attack with that minion as well. So it's not like you can just play it and it can just start jamming face. It may mean that Team Norway have to press armor up a couple of times when they maybe might not have done if they had some other taunt options.
Not necessarily the most obvious turn yet for Bulgaria, but they can probably be quite happy with either setting up for either set up by going deckhand Shadow Step on this turn to go 0 mana plus Elven Minstrel next turn. I think, to be honest, they don't even need to do that. They could probably get away with a 5 mana a 5 mana play of deckhand into Minstrel, which is kind of what they're going for here.
I think this is better, because otherwise if you play the Shadow Step deckhand with Minstrel and you can't take the deckhand back again, and suddenly your two deckhand quest is just gone, and you have to try and get something else. So it's a little bit ropey to try and go for. They're playing with a much more slow and steady approach of just having, okay, well there's a 3-2, yes you can kill it, but you also lose your return. It just means that they're in no rush. Especially with the way a lot of these decks are built now, with the quest rogue of having back to like double Mimic Pod, double Minstrel, so they can end up drawing a lot of cards. What are you giggling at?
I'm laughing at the hero-powered shield slam on turn 3 to deal with a youthful Brewmaster. This is clearly indicating what NTR's game plan is here, where he just has to keep board control for the first few turns. As soon as he loses it, it's probably just over.
It is funny for Mod Warrior, isn't it?
Oh, but this too müde.
Next turn's going to be the interesting one for me though, because there's armor up, at the moment they don't need to, because Gemstone doesn't have charge, so you can play it and then attack the turn after to attack. But then next turn there's a chance that you do just see a mind control tech just get played.
Very possibly.
It's like, well, I like minions that hit face. I don't want my opponent to have enough minions for mind control tech to go off.
Yeah.
Like, you know, that's not what I want in this game.
Like, it's not ridiculous. They have mind control deck into Ziliax, into gem-studded golem. That's just a pretty good curve of minions to start hitting your opponent with.
Yeah, look at this. This prep just being banked into the Elven Minstrel just to get something on the board. I wonder if they're ever considering Shadow Step. Probably. Yeah. Oh wow, they are. Okay.
I like this. Like,
it's good value, but I just saw like 2 deck hands and thought, you've already bounced 1. There's 2 there. Do you want to Shadow Step the Minstrel?
Yeah, but like going for the Minstrel, like drawing off the Minstrel again, you get closer to Sonya, which is how you want to complete the quest with your deck hands. Right. And also, if you just draw dead for the next couple of turns, I think that's how you might maybe lose this game. It's just if you don't get any card draw in the next few cards.
And this is just cracking me up. It's just like the worst tempo deck of all time, isn't it? You're like, okay, cool. 3 mana 1/4. Okay, cool. A 1/3. Great. And now it's just a 3 mana 3/3.
And
yet, get him.
Somehow it's the best deck.
Yeah.
Or it was for like the longest time.
Now as well, though, funnily enough, the Super Collider actually does the job now because there's 2 minions on board. If there's no way to get around it now, because no matter what happens, there's always going to be 2 minions on board. So this Collider is going to just keep the board basically. Just take it with the damage though, which lowers the power level of gem-studded.
Yeah, you want to be thinking about Ziliax on this turn, but
I think I just like getting Collider.
Exactly, yeah. It's going to be good for the next few turns, so you can then just lead into Golem or Dynamatic, whatever, just to get that damage.
I mean, it's not no, it's protecting these powerhouse tempo minions right now to just get this aggro damage in a 5 a turn.
They've just pushed for 7 so far, smorking them down. Like, we laugh, but Eternium Rover has done like 4 damage now. That's not nothing.
It's just a good card. Also, Turning Rover can help with the gem-studded too, if the minion does layer. Right. You do gain armor when it takes damage. Oh no, I'm about to die. Vanish. Do you know where, like, wait, what?
Yeah, you probably want to be saving that for the bigger minions. Bulgaria will still be hypothesizing as to what the taunt minion was that came off of the Stonehill Defender. What could that be that we possibly lose to?
I will say it's kind of funny because like Bulgaria just still don't have a good play this turn. They can play deckhand and just bounce it, but it's very low impact on this board that you are actually getting beaten up by.
Yeah,
it's kind of weird. They're gonna bounce it and just play the novice.
Yeah,
like, yeah, okay. Yeah. Maybe Glacial Shard again. Nope.
I can respect this play of just bouncing back the deckhands. I wouldn't have hated to see just bouncing back the draw, the novice engineer, because it gets you closer once again to Sonya, which is really what you want to be drawing through to complete your quest. But at the same time, with deckhand into Vanish, they've already basically completed the quest here, so I can very much respect Silent Dom's play.
Seeing like, wow, they can have 2 3/3s now on the board with faces manipulate on the mind control tag.
Not wrong.
Yeah.
I would be more expecting to see gem-studded hit, but then you need to be afraid of, are you using your Super Collider swings too early? Because Super Collider scales very well into the late game in this matchup with the 4/4s on board. You really want to give yourself the ability to deal with those when they come down as well.
I guess for me is though, if this is the strategy they're going for winning this game, they don't want to get to 4/4s, do they? They want to kill their opponent. So already pushing them down to 18. There's what, 5, 8, 9, 10, kind of 11 damage on board if they can activate the gem-studded.
Yeah.
Like, that's just close.
That's a lot of damage.
That's legitimately just close to lethal 2 turn. How much armor does gem-studded need? Is it 6?
I think it's 6, yeah.
They can get that as well, right? If any minion is played.
That's true. Yeah, that's true. Which they probably would do, just to get the 5 damage through to face. That's worth it.
Well, you trade 1 damage for 5 damage, right?
Yeah.
So you gain 4, and you gain armor, which is never too much of a bad thing anyway.
And I would imagine that Bulgaria are going to be looking at deckhand into Vanish on this turn, because it means next turn, because they would have then played 3 copies of it, they could go double deckhand quest, and then really just start locking out this game.
Yeah, I think they have to.
Yeah.
Oh. I thought they weren't vanishing because they just didn't go for the vanish I was looking at, because there's 2. I was like, oh no, this is still fine, yeah. Okay. And this is where it starts to get tricky.
Yeah, Norway do need to be making sure they're making this as difficult as possible for the opposing deckhands to trade into, which is why I like the gem-studded golem as well. Oh, sorry, 5 armor to be attacking through.
Right.
Because now double deckhand quest means that all of a sudden they have to attack in with the weapon as well if they want to be clearing off the gem-studded golem, which is
don't even need armor
5 damage. Yeah, exactly.
There is a nice sort of leeway they have because they have Reckless Flurry already in hand. So that is pretty nice. Also, a faceless on a charge minion as well, like a Stunter's Boar, can push for even more damage.
That's true.
So, you know, there are options. It looks like it is going to be deckhand, go.
Yeah, this makes sense. You could go for the Vanish once again, but then you're facing down the same problem the next turn anyway.
Repeats, It's an endless cycle of silly problems. They're going to take
Yo.
Rather than just freezing it. I guess that makes sense. You do want to be clearing the minions off the board rather than just delaying the problem, but that would have been a pretty scary board you put forward. I guess it plays into Super Collider actually, which is great.
But now Dynamatic into Stonehill is looking
that's
reasonable
good
to me.
I like that. I was looking at Shield Slam first, but I agree Dynamatic with the mech you have on your side.
Just kill the 4/4, have a 3/4, and play a Stonehill too. Because also as well, it's a very big deal that the activators were deckhands and that both just went in because you know there's no deckhands left now. So there's not many charge minions left that can have a direct impact.
And I know that Silent Storm is just like 1 card away from completely locking out this game. I do like the fact that NTR is somehow still actually not in that bad of a spot this game.
It's a little bit weird, isn't it? These are terrible picks, though.
These are not what you're looking for.
You just get cornered
Sentry.
Well, what?
Oh yeah.
Ich sehe schon.
Yeah, no, sorry.
Oh, I see your plan, Derek. Corner Sentry into MCT. Is your plan? I get it.
Yes, of course.
That is exactly what you were thinking, wasn't it?
Well done for identifying my genius plan.
Yeah.
Team Norway, however, also agree with my genius plan. So you know what, Raven?
I was being serious, obviously.
It's just good. You steal them with the MCT. This is genius. This is some galaxy brain plays here coming in from Norway.
This is how they plan to win the matchup, clearly.
The old corner sentry double MCT for 4/4 Raptors. Classic.
When you have to discover the corner sentry off of Stonehill because it's Odd Warrior. Perfect.
Yeah, exactly.
No one can see it coming. How are they playing this even card? This is cheating.
As that is not the card that Silent Storm was looking for. He wants to find Valera, he wants to find Lifesteal off the Scale Hide, just any way to start clearing up this mess, which Fan of Knives does not do.
Yeah, it's actually extremely slow, isn't it? Mimic Pod.
Another Mimic Pod as well.
I mean, they're not far away from dying, Derek.
Yeah.
And the problem with that fan was that Wax Elemental and Zola means that there can't be a... that you can't Wax Elemental Zola this turn now.
Now we've got Iron Beak Owl ready to go down.
Owl.
Yep.
That's actually pretty sick. What is... How... If this happens, and earlier today, when they knew that the picks and bans, Huntrace is like, oh yeah, we're gonna beat Odd Rogue with Odd Warrior.
Yeah.
I was like, sorry, not Odd Rogue, Quest Rogue. It's like, yeah, okay, nice one, mate. And we know you're Hunter Race and Team Norway, but stop making things up. If they do this now, because, like, Quest Rogue doesn't have game versus a Wax Elemental, right? They're not faceless?
Yeah, I think you probably want to save the faceless for a charger, like you were saying, like the boar. I like that
Lol.
strategy a lot.
Ooh, shit.
I completely forgot about Magnetic there, which is effectively charge damage anyway.
Tja, nächste Runde bist du wohl Geschichte.
Oof.
Oh no. Don't play it. Don't play the ball.
It's a trap.
Oh my, if this game... Look, if this game...
This game's crazy. How are they actually winning this?
If this game ends up being Faceless Boar, hit with Super Collider for lethal, that is the second Super Collider lethal of the day. And it's just one day. That's like 2 more lethals with Super Collider that I've seen in my Hearthstone life.
And that is perfect redemption, because Norway in the global games have actually already missed a potential lethal by not attacking him with a super collider. Oh yeah, right, we were on that game, and that would be just the ultimate redemption if they're able to cinch that one out.
Also, Norway missed a potential lethal. They missed 1 damage in the Warlock match earlier, and they were 1 damage off fatigue for lethal. Oh my god, if Bulgaria play Stone Tusk Boar as their 1 drop after Vanish.
They won't do it.
Na,
But if they misclick it, I'm pretty sure Waxy Boy's gonna come out to play.
die absolute Notlösung.
IMB Cowl!
Just push the 1.
Oh wait, they don't need to, just replay Dynomatic, right?
Like, I'm wondering if there's any way they can get away with not playing minions now and trying to go for like Iron Beacow faceless on a charge that his opponent plays. Just like not playing minions so the scale hide can't
I don't know
heal.
if that's ever gonna happen.
I think that's just,
right.
yeah, like that's trusting that your opponent messes up so badly.
Wait, what was that animation? Did you see that there?
It did look a bit weird. I wasn't sure if I was just half asleep.
Well, yes.
Yes.
But I think it still looked weird. Wax Elemental's still good, or do you go for the Diehorn?
Like, Wax Elemental soaks quite a lot of hits to protect your better minions. Like, just being able to go Wax Rover on this turn.
Well, for what I'm thinking as well is because Wax Elemental soaks hits, it means there'll naturally be more rogue minions on the board, which means double mind control tech.
Yeah.
Can like naturally creates the opportunity for itself, right?
No, it makes sense.
I mean, this still only heals for 8, and I'd say only 8, but
Right.
there's still a lot of pressure on the board. And like you said, the second that ball's left on the board, well, there's 4 from hand.
And there is the Valera ready to come down for Silent Storm. And that is just the absolute dream for them at this point, being able to go Valera, scale hide, or like scale hide lab recruiter, whatever. All the nonsense starts occurring and revolves pretty much entirely around Valera the Hollow. He just needs to survive till then. 1 more turn of survival, and Bulgaria should be good.
So you can actually play both Scale Hides and Zola as well.
Like I really don't think you can afford to play both Scale Hides. That is off of a Mimic Pod, I believe. So there's still 1 more Scale Hide knocking about in the deck, but you just want to be saving 1 in hand. You want to give yourself the guaranteed heal with Valera the Hollow in the next couple turns. And as long as Silent Storm is playing Zola here as well, I can respect this play.
Yeah, exactly. You just be able to get the extra 1.
Die Notlösung.
Wow.
Oh, I am surprised.
I am very surprised by this. Like, this just gives the ability to clear off the board with, or even just an attack with the Super Collider, or with Reckless Flurry if you don't want to give the heal.
Right?
Or even just Mind Control Tech. The Cornered Sentry is coming into effect.
And they know Vanishes are gone.
Yeah.
The Vanishes are just long gone now. They've been used.
This is sick.
Oh, and they got 1 as well. So now you kill off the other Scale Hide, right?
Okay.
Yes. You've still got the Super Collider here.
Okay, das ist fett.
I really don't like this from
board.
Silent Storm. I think that saving the effect of the heal is way too valuable. Because it's unlikely that the other Scale Hide is right at the bottom of the deck, but it's possible.
And also, there's too much health for balls to finish the game.
Yeah.
So why do you need Zola for that? I guess. So okay, what it is they want to go Infinite, right?
Meine Güte, das ist ja voll der Kampf hier.
To at this point in the game.
Well, I don't think you need both of these to go infinite.
Right.
You can just go play
Just
a minion, lab
yeah,
recruiter,
yeah.
lab
Yeah,
recruiter.
that's true, that's
Exactly.
true.
That's your combo. And now NTR has just some good cards. Obviously, he can't attack face on this turn, but Iron Beak out to silence Wax Elementals means he will be pushing an awful lot of damage.
And also as well,
Tja,
I mean,
würde
there's
ich
6
sagen,
minions
nützt
on
dir das
board,
nicht
so it
allzu
would
sehr
affect the
mehr, ne?
Iron Beak. But I was just thinking, like, he can also just faceless a Scale Hide or something.
Yeah.
Or just now just pretty quick super collider.
Go for
like,
it.
yeah, play stuff, friend.
I like that a lot. I mean,
Lol.
he's also even going to be considering, like you said, the faceless manipulator on this team.
Ja.
Even more damage, ready to push through.
Yeah. I'm just wondering if you want the owl.
Ja, Joke, das sieht ziemlich beschissen
Is
aus.
faceless worth it?
Okay.
I'm not sure. Oh, faceless is 2-6.
Soaks up more hits, I suppose. Protects your other higher attack minions.
Sure. Yeah,
And now there's no heal available for Bulgaria. They have the Minstrel, which could maybe dig their way through the deck to find that, but they have no more vanishes either.
Yeah, this is the big key, right? The vanishes are gone. So there's no punish for going this wide and just making this play. And you know, I'm not someone who takes credit a lot. I don't really like to, but I did bring up the sentry, the sentry as a pick.
That was
No,
a really
I'm
good
joking,
spot. No,
I'm
it
joking.
wasn't a good spot. I mean, also, it was a bit of a meme
joking,
from us.
yeah.
But what a good
Aber
spot
wie
from
viel
Norway.
hat
It
der
was
Typ von
an
denen?
insane swing turn. Because Bulgaria is always going to be playing around MCT
Ja,
as much as possible.
genau.
Okay, so say the second wax element.
Jetzt schirmt er sich so dermaßen ab, ey.
Silenced after one gets cleared up. So that will require 2 and a 4, and then there's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, it's 15. If there's just one max elemental played.
So
But there can be 2.
Na
they're going
klar. Ja, ja.
for the less greedy play.
Yeah.
Die ganz harte Schiene jetzt hier.
Silence, like you trade one away.
Wait. Does Super Collider
Yeah,
change anything?
Super Collider, you can kill off 2 of them. Ooh, you can go solar on the
Scheiße.
mind control tech or the owl as well.
Oh my. What
Is this
game?
just lethal?
I don't know, Derek. I'm going to be completely honest with you. I don't know. I just want to sit and watch Norway do their thing.
You have to clear off one of your minions. I think that's just it.
I think it is. What? 4, 8, yeah.
That's it.
Norway
They've won
Poof.
the unwinnable matchup.
somehow get it
Puff.
done. And I am just...
Bam und
We talk a lot
bam.
about Team Norway. We talk a lot about
Sieg
Norway.
für
He
Norwegen.
literally said to me backstage, way before the match started, we are going to win on
Norwegen ist weiter.
versus Quest Rogue, and they did it in a spectacular fashion. I have never watched a stranger game of